Hello everybody, Attorney Joe Pometto of Joe Pometto Law here. Today I want to analyze a news story out of Nebraska. I have the article on the screen right now. It is entitled, Nebraska Midwife Charged in Failed Delivery, but Is She Wrong? This is a breaking story. I found it on Prep for That Survival News, but it is available on all major news networks. The facts of this story are roughly as follows. There is an unlicensed midwife in Nebraska who is branding herself as a midwife and assisting women in their childbirths. Recently, a woman hired this unlicensed midwife to assist in her childbirth. During the birth, the baby was being delivered in breech. Now, the midwife was at the home assisting the woman, attempting to have the birth occur successfully and without issues. During the delivery, however, the baby had its oxygen cut off for about 10 minutes due to the fact that the baby was being born in breech. Now, I was not quite familiar. I don't have any kids. I was not quite familiar with what breech meant, but after doing some research, it appears that the baby was being born feet first. So this situation occurred. The midwife was not able to deliver the baby after attempting to do so for several hours. Eventually, the paramedics were called. They arrived on the scene, had the baby delivered from the woman. However, its brain went without oxygen for about 10 minutes, resulting in the death of the baby. Now, this unlicensed midwife is facing charges from the state of Nebraska. I did some additional research, and you can look at this article that I have pulled up here, which I will also post in my comments. It appears that the state of Nebraska has charged this woman criminally. Now, if there's a couple of interesting factors here. Number one, I believe that the state of Nebraska would not have charged her if the birth was successful. That probably goes without saying. And number two, they are charging her more than likely because she was unlicensed. Now, if this had occurred in a hospital with a doctor, that doctor would almost certainly not face charges because the doctor is licensed. Even though doctors in hospitals give birth to children and oftentimes the children die. However, that doctor holds a license, so they likely would not face any types of charges, okay, even if the child had died. It appears here that the state of Nebraska is targeting this woman because she is unlicensed and because the child died. So this brings up some interesting questions about whether or not a state should require a midwife, a doula, or any type of person who assists in childbirth to have a license. I did a little bit of research on this article. Obviously, before the 20th century, in the 1800s in America, midwives were common. They were not specially licensed. They may not have even had any sort of special type training other than apprenticeships. Around the 20th century, in the 1900s, states in the United States started to pass laws requiring licenses for people to assist in childbirths. Another interesting fact that I found is that the majority of childbirths in the world, occur in the home or in conditions where there is not a licensed professional assisting the mother in having the birth. Now, we're likely talking about third world countries and poorer countries, but it still stands to reason that most people born in the world, even today, are not brought into this world with the assistance of a licensed professional. Most people are brought into this world with someone like this woman who was charged in Nebraska, an unlicensed childbirth assistant. The state of Nebraska, by bringing a charge against this woman, it could have a chilling effect on any unlicensed practitioner within the birthing industry. That could damage the industry, and it will be interesting to see what the ramifications of this case are. Now, another interesting fact is that this woman is being charged likely because she does not have a license and she assisted in this birth. However, UC, or unassisted childbirth, is legal in the United States, and there are thousands of babies who are birthed each year through unassisted childbirth. What unassisted childbirth is where a mother gives birth to the baby without any assistance at all. No doula, no midwife, no doctor. Now, those conditions are likely just as risky, if not riskier, than the conditions under which someone hires an unlicensed midwife. Now, if a mother gives birth unassisted, no help at all, the baby dies, the baby comes in breach, that mother's not going to face any charges. That person is not going to be prosecuted criminally within the state. So why is it different when a third party, a third person is involved in the birth goes badly, and then that third person gets charged? And I guess that is one of the points that I make with the chilling effect here. By charging an unlicensed practitioner with the death of a baby through midwifery, what we may see is a situation where women either decide to go completely unassisted or give birth in a hospital. And you're going to see less of anything in between where a woman gives birth with the help of a midwife. Now, I don't know what effect this will have, but it's possible that you could see a rise in birthing complications if more women decide to give birth, unassisted, because they may not feel comfortable going to a hospital. These midwives present a nice middle option for women who don't want to go to the hospital, but also don't want to give birth completely by themselves without any assist at all. Now, a lot of people will say, look, the state is just requiring these midwives to be licensed. But what we miss here is that, again, traditionally, these women, the women or men in these midwife positions were not required to be licensed. Also, licensure can be very expensive and time-consuming and is not necessarily an option for everyone who wants to become a midwife. So we're going to see some likely very important ramifications from a case like this. Perhaps more states in the union will begin to prosecute these cases based on the state of Nebraska's actions here. We may see a decrease in midwifery overall. Of course, you're going to have licensed midwives, but the unlicensed midwives, you may see a decrease in that. And then what you will have is more women choosing to go with unassisted childbirths. Now, I don't know if that's going to occur. That's just speculation here. And it's hard to predict what exactly, the ramifications will be. If unassisted childbirths will go up, if these unassisted childbirths will also result in more deaths, because essentially by charging the woman in this situation here, you're likely going to see a pullback in the amount of midwives that are used, period. Now, I did some additional research, like I mentioned earlier, on this case. And you can do some more research on your own. Check out this article that's going to be posted. One of the fascinating things I found is that she is being charged with I believe, negligent child abuse resulting in death. Now, from a criminal law perspective, there's a very important distinction between intentional crimes and negligent crimes. Intentional crime is a crime that a person did generally with some sort of malice aforethought, planned to take this action and then executed it. Negligence is simply when a person didn't necessarily commit the crime intentionally, but performed an action or did something in a way that unintentionally caused harm to other people. The big distinction here between a negligent crime and an intentional crime for future consequences is that the intentional crime will likely carries more serious consequences. We're talking jail time, extended jail time, probation, extended probation, much stiffer penalties for an intentional crime. For a negligent crime like this, even though it resulted in death, you're likely looking at much more lenient penalties. I would be surprised if this woman ended up doing jail time on this case, even if she is ultimately convicted of negligent child abuse resulting in death. There's a good chance that she will get treatment. She will be put on probation. They will do mental health evaluations. So she'll have a very short leash. However, it's unlikely that she will do any extended period of jail time. I can't say that for sure because every case is different, but just based on my experience, I would be surprised if this woman ended up doing jail time. Another interesting aspect to this case, though, is if this goes to trial, it's possible that a jury could sympathize with her and may not convict her at all. There's a good chance some of the people who are put on that jury may have used a midwife or a doula or may have some sort of sympathy for unassisted childbirths. And they could provide a perspective on that jury that may lead to her ultimately being acquitted. An interesting fact here that is probably going to be brought up and that I saw in other research is that apparently the childbirth went on for many hours. And so the question is, if this woman couldn't give birth to the child at first, was there a point in time where she should have picked up the phone and called the authorities, called the paramedics to come and assist her? So it will be very interesting to see how it plays out. I think there's a decent chance, if it goes to trial, that she is acquitted. I think if she puts a plea in or if she is ultimately convicted of this case, it's unlikely that she will see jail time. However, this type of case could have a very chilling effect on the childbirthing industry in general. If you found this article interesting, check out my description below. I found this on Prep for That, Survival News. It's also syndicated nationally. This should be an ongoing story. If you enjoyed my content, please subscribe, like, and share. Subscribe, like, and share. If you do this on YouTube for me, it helps to drive YouTube's algorithm to show my videos more. The more people that are watching these videos, the more incentivized I am to make more videos and more content like this. It's a nice positive feedback loop, so I ask that you like my videos, subscribe to my videos, comment, and share. Thank you very much.